Hey guys, it's Ty from gamesfromthefront.com, and I'm going to do a live playthrough here of Race to the Bridge from the Devil's Cauldron Grand Tactical Series. Race to the Bridge is intermediate scenario number 1. It's a 4-turn scenario that goes from 1500 on the 17th of 1944. September 17th of 1944 through the night turn. So we'll do 1500, 1700, 1900, and the night turn. This is the initial landings of the 1st Airborne Division, the British, and they're advancing to Arnhem. So there are 3 landing zones in this area, landing zone S, X, and Z. And the 1st Airborne is going to be here. Landing here, they're going to be opposed by a handful of German units, and then they're going to make their way to Arnhem. And for victory points, they're going to try to take, naturally, Arnhem Bridge. I think there's some victory points if they take the railroad bridge, which is in this location. And I think the Germans generally are trying to eliminate their units to counterbalance and earn their own victory points. There's a lot to remember in this scenario. We'll see how it goes with a solo playthrough. But I've started to get things set up. I've got my chits. The initial chits are naturally the German Direct Command, Allied Direct Command, the Hohenstaufen Division, and the 1st Airborne Division. And then formation-wise, the first parachute battalion is going to be the first chit that's going to get played in the scenario. Weather is clear throughout the scenario. The British have looks like 9 command points and 2 dispatch points. Hohenstaufen Division has 0 dispatch points and 3 command points to start off with. There are a handful of Frundsberg units that are on the map, and for this scenario they're going to be considered as part of Hohenstaufen. I've got a handful of German reinforcements set up here on the calendar, and they'll naturally come in later, starting this 1900 turn. But really the first couple things I have to do is there's a number of airstrikes the British get to use. I think it's 9. And I think strategy-wise, I'm going to try to clear a little bit of a route here to the bridge, perhaps concentrate on the bridge. It's interesting that there are so many flak units down here to the southeast. I'm not quite sure how they're going to come into play. Maybe they've got range and might be able to get a couple shots off, but I can't imagine that the British will head down there for any particular reason. But we'll see. So I'm going to do those airstrikes. I've got to set up the event chits. And then there's a handful of German units that I need to place. And then I need to conduct the initial landings of the British. So let me conduct that and let you know how it goes. All right, the initial setups and drops are done. The 1st Airborne Division drops were almost uneventful. The Airborne Recon unit lost a step, but there were no other effects. So these other markers you see are the initial delays. The Hohenstaufen units set up here. They have to be within 6 hexes of this location near Wolfhez. And so they're going to try a little bit of blocking here along the roads and then spotting for the mortar unit. It looked like the British were going to make a roundabout here to the south. And quickly on the airstrikes, there were 9 airstrikes, and it looks like there were 6 flak units that were eliminated. And there were some initial setup for some of the SS units here around south of Arnhem Bridge. So all the initial setup is ready to go, or is complete, and we're going to conduct the activations with our first chit, which is 1st Parachute Brigade. Let me get my terminology right. Yeah, 1st Paratroop Brigade. All right, let's see how that goes. I think the initial plan is just to advance here with 1st Battalion, hopefully get along the roads, down to the rail bridge, and then into Arnhem. One of the limiting factors here, though, is this commander for 1st Brigade only has a command radius of 5, so these units are going to have to stay fairly close together. All right, let's see how this first activation goes. All right, 1st Brigade has ended its activation with the formation activation chit. First of all, we had this mounted anti-tank gun. First activation, it got rid of its delay marker, and then second activation, spent a command point and got in the column and then drove around here past Heelsum and Haveldrop and stopped here. And then we had all of these 1st Brigade units. Most of them attempted to force march, had a couple of failures here, so we've got cohesion hits. A couple of them hopped into column and hopped on the road here and are just shy of these enemy units. These guys failed, so they didn't get into contact with the enemy, but we had 1, 2, and then there's a 3rd mortar unit under here who dropped some barrages to suppress, not suppressing a game sense, but put a light barrage on some of the enemy. So that was their activation. Let me reach in a cup here, pull the next one, and here's 1st Airborne, division activation. So we're going to roll for command points, and I'll do that. We've got a command rating of 5, so D10, it's a 3. I was doing this last game. 3 divided by 2 rounded down is 1, plus 5 is 6. And currently have 6 in place, so that takes us up to 12. All right, so probably going to rally for first activation with these guys with the cohesion hits, get rid of some of these delay markers or these glider markers and pair drop markers, and then see if we can get into contact with the enemy down the road a little bit. So let's see how that goes. All right, division activation for the 1st Airborne. Most of these units moved into enemy contact as a second action for the activation, so it's going to cost me a lot of command points, but I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units in contact. These units did a combination of getting in and out of column and moved a little bit further up the road. This unit tried to force march and failed. All of the delay markers or pair drop and glider markers have come off now for first activations. I did do a second activation with this artillery unit who's mounted up, and he started to make it up the road, but he didn't get too far because I've left him in contact with his leader who had to move during that second action. Did have an event that popped up. The 1st Airborne Recon unit was running around and triggered this lost event, and with their movement of 27, they are now way up north and west up here. They're suppressed, they're on a raised railroad, and quite a bit out of the way. So, all right, so 1st Airborne made a little bit of progress. Let's pull another chit, and Allied Direct Command. All right, so I've got looks like 5 command points that I'm going to use primarily to do some assaults on the Germans. And we've got 1 airborne unit here is going to assault, and then these 3 are going to assault a single step unit and 2-step unit from Hohenstaufen in this hex. And I think that's going to use 4 of my 5 command points. If I decide to do something else, I'll let you know. Oh, by the way, at the beginning of the division activation chit, I did forget when I recorded to roll for dispatch points, but I did so off camera and there were no dispatch points, so 1st Airborne is still at 2. All right, let's see how these assaults go. All right, the assaults are completed. We had Tango Company assaulted a single infantry unit and made pretty quick work of them. And advanced into the hex as well, or into the hex here. We had this stack of A, B, and C from 2nd Battalion. They assaulted. They eliminated 1 unit, but were unable to reduce or eliminate this single step unit. and so they remained. However, he is now suppressed and has 2 cohesion hits on him. Seeing that he was pretty messed up, I did decide to use that last command point and try to take a pot shot with the mortar unit, and he failed his troop quality check, his company bonus, and his attack had no effect. So didn't quite make the progress I think they hoped for, but let's see what our last chit of this round is going to be. There's only German chits left. And Hohenstaufen division activation. So first of all, Hohenstaufen's going to check for some command points. They've got a command rating of 4, and I rolled a 0. These are the lowest rolling command rolls ever over these last 2 games. So 0 command points, command rating of 4. He starts off with 3. It's going to take him up to 7. And let's check for dispatch points. And that's a 4. His dispatch rating is 2. He's got 0 to start off with, so he earns no dispatch points. There aren't really too many mobile units left here on the map. This unit's suppressed, so he's probably going to try to rally from the suppression. And this mortar is under a light barrage. Perhaps he could attack adjacently, but I need to put the leader somewhere. Let's put him right there. But let me go ahead and do those 2 and see how it goes. Okay, wrap that up pretty quickly. I wasn't ready to expend a command point for this Hohenstaufen unit. He's only a single stepper. He's already got 2 cohesion hits. And under the barrage, 2 cohesion hits, the suppression, he was at a 1 or 0. And even getting him out of that suppression by spending a command point, I thought that was going to be pretty expensive for somebody who's not going to last very long. So I didn't spend the command point. I failed the suppression roll or the rally roll, and so he remained suppressed. I did do a shot with this mortar unit. I failed his company bonus, and his attack resulted in a possible suppression, which the airborne unit passed a troop quality check. So no suppression, although we should have a light barrage now. So that's the end of the turn. Speaking of barrages, end of the turn, all the barrages come off. I'm going to advance the time marker up to the 1700 turn on the calendar. The German direct command chit was the last one in the mug, and that's going to be the first one for the 1700 turn. I'm going to put the Allied Direct Command, 1st Airborne and Hohenstaufen back in the cup. And let's see. I'll put the leader back for, who is that? That's Kampfgruppe Kraft. And, oh yeah, we're going to spend 2 dispatch points from 1st Airborne to put the 1st Brigade formation activation chit back in the cup. All right, not a whole lot to do with the direct command for the Germans. Kind of the same situation where we were. There's no reinforcements this turn for the Germans. So I'm going to try to rally again with that suppressed unit. And this time he's not under a barrage, so he's got a -2 overall, which takes him down to 2 troop quality, and rolled an 8, so he's still suppressed. And let's go ahead and do a, I guess that cost a command point to rally. I probably shouldn't have done that. I'll spend a second command point, and the mortar will attack again. He's got a 3 troop quality, rolling for company bonus. It's a 5, he fails. And he's a 3 green, high explosive, mortar attack, indirect. Or just not high explosive, but just a mortar indirect. There's no terrain modifier for that into the woods. -1 defense, so he's going to be 2 green. Ooh, a 0. Holy smokes. That's going to cost 1 step for Company T, Tango Company, and it's going to put him under a light barrage. So that's a pretty good result for the Germans. It's the end of the activation. Pull another chit. And Hohenstaufen, division activation. So we're going to roll for command points first. Got a command rating of 4. This is a 7. That's going to give him 3 command points, plus the rating of 4 is 7. He's got 4 in hand, so it takes him up to 11. It's pretty good. And for dispatch points, it's got a dispatch rating of 2. And he rolls a 9, which he would have lost 1, but he's at 0 anyway. All right, pretty much the same story as before, the division activation. Let's try for another rally from that suppressed unit. He's going to have a troop quality of 2. He's under 2 cohesion hits and a suppression. And that would have been his first activation, or first action. Rolled a 7, so he fails for a 3rd time. And let's do another shot with the mortar unit. He got lucky last time. It's going to have to be a 2nd action, though. It's going to cost him a command point. Going to check his company bonus with a troop quality of 3. 1, he's successful. It takes him up to a 5 green. And the defensive rating of the defender is a -1, so it's going to be a 4 green. Remember, firing into the woods with high explosive doesn't impact. So what did I say? 4 green? 9. So that's no effect and no barrage. But there's a barrage there anyway. All right. I think that's pretty much it for everybody in that direct activation. Or excuse me, division activation. Pull another chit. And Allied Direct Command. Well, that's unfortunate because the 1st Airborne is at 0 command points. But that happens. So we've got 2 chits left. Got German Direct and the formation for 1st Brigade. There's a scenario rule that if there's an Allied chit is the last one in the cup, it is played immediately. Let's see what we pull. First Airborne, division activation. All right, a couple things we're going to do here. We're going to roll for command points. Command rating of 5. I rolled an 8, so it's going to give me 4 plus 5 is 9. They're currently at 0. It's going to take me up to 9 command points. And a dispatch roll, dispatch rating of 4. Ooh, 0. That's going to give me, if I remember correctly, 3. 1 for the 0, 1 for being, or is that 2? I always forget. Well, if you roll equal to, right? You get 1 for that. So you get +1 dispatch point for roll of 0, +1 the roll than less than your current DP, and +1 for less than or equal to your dispatch rating. All right, so I just get 2. All right, 2 dispatch points. That'll be helpful for the next turn. All right, division activation. So I got a handful of command points. I think we're going to try to finish off the Germans here, and if we can achieve a breakthrough, kind of get going down the road. So let me think about that and let you know how that goes. All right, pretty interesting division activation. We had an assault in this area that cleared out the suppressed German unit, clearing the road, and now we actually have a nice little caravan of columned 1st Airborne units all the way into Oosterbeek, and did a kind of an ill-advised assault here on this mortar unit. Remember, mortars don't have any fire zone, so these guys can move freely by him. But this unit, who's a single stepper under a light barrage, tried to assault this mortar unit and failed miserably. So he still remains, but everyone else is kind of making their way towards Arnhem. One of the units here triggered I think it was this guy way up here. He's actually made it to the outskirts of Arnhem. Yeah, this mounted artillery unit, I'm sorry, anti-tank unit, triggered an event, which was an ambush, and he took a cohesion hit from that. And then our mounted artillery units have made it here outside of Hevadorp, and have unmounted, and they were getting spotted by the 1st Airborne Recon Squadron. Had a failed attempt at contact here, but this was successful. And they dropped a heavy barrage that inflicted a cohesion hit on a single step 88, so he's eliminated. So we're pretty much clear of almost all German units up to the rail bridge. So we'll start making our move on that. And then Team Claude drove quickly past the artillery units and then into the outskirts of Arnhem. And looks like he's got a line of sight here on some of the flak, or this flak unit, should we want to do an artillery strike later. All right, so that's the end of the division activation chit. There's one last chit in the cup for this turn. Like I said earlier, by a special scenario rule, if the last chit in the cup is an allied chit, it actually gets played. So the turn hasn't ended yet, and we're going to work on the first parachute brigade. I've got 4 command points to work with and some free first actions. So certainly you're going to be moving into Arnhem a little bit more and perhaps doing some artillery shots. So let's see how that goes. All right, coming back to the scenario after a couple days off, taking a little break, gonna see if I can finish it up today. Yeah, so we're at the tail end of the 1700 turn. You might remember we were using the 1st Parachute Brigade formation activation chit, and the first pairs have started to make their way into Arnhem. First up, there was a mounted up anti-tank unit who made it into Arnhem and was heading towards the bridge, and then this Panzer unit popped up via random event. Team Claude also did a roundabout and made it here just outside the north hex of the bridge and is set up for an ambush. He actually entered into this observation post. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I guess as a unit, he qualifies as having captured that observation post. And although he's now on the ambush side. So we'll see how that plays out. See some of the lead elements here of some of the paratroop companies have made it into Arnhem. We've got our leader there, and they kind of trail behind the road here to Oosterbeek. They have a pretty much a clear road all the way into town. And you might remember there was a single mortar unit here all the way west. He was assaulted, and a couple lucky rolls by Tango Company eliminated him. So that was pretty much the activation. Number of opportunity checks from the flak units as the airborne made it through Arnhem. I think he checked a couple times. He checked a couple times. I think he checked a couple times. So a couple cohesion hits, but not much to talk about otherwise. All right, so that's the end of the 1700 turn. I'm going to clean up the map of barrage markers and some other things and start the 1900 turn. Okay, we're set up for the 1900 turn. I did buy the formation activation chit for the 1st Airborne Division, so that's in the cup. We had a handful of or all the reinforcements for the Germans, which included some of the 10th SS Division here. The Hohenstaufen has showed up with some motorized infantry, and I think there's an engineer up here in this hex as well. So they're going to make their way into Arnhem. There was a single German airstrike, you might remember, that we rolled for availability at the beginning of the game, and he inflicted a cohesion hit on a mortar unit that is located here. So I think that's all of all of the setup for the turn. You remember the 1st Airborne Division formation chit was by scenario rule played last turn. So we don't have a chit here at the beginning of this turn like we normally would. So let me pull a new one. And there's 1st Airborne again, formation chit. Okay. So actually, this is not the greatest situation. We're actually getting kind of low on command points. We're down to 2 command points. So we can take our free first action and get into position, but beyond that, we're not going to have too much to do. So let me move these guys and see if I can make any progress. All right, we wrapped up that activation for the 1st Airborne Division formation activation chit, and now we've got quite a bit more Airborne Division units here in Arnhem. We've got a unit here that's kind of put a forward position on facing these flak units, and he'll be hopefully slowing things down as the German reinforcements roll in. We have a handful of mortar units that are now in position with the right spotters to take out hopefully some of these flak units to open things up. And then I'm still holding on to this recon unit. He's got a pretty massive, I think 27 movement points. So once these units are eliminated or get to the night turn, he's going to speed across the railroad bridge for those victory points. Otherwise, I think we took a suppression here from a flak unit on one of the infantry units, but pretty much that activation was about getting the Allies in place. Oh, I should point out there was that AT gun here who was facing off the Panzer unit from the random event, and the Panzer unit was a 0-step unit, interestingly, but we got the jump on him, or the AT gun got the jump on him and was able to eliminate him, but we are down now to 0 command points, so we need some good chit draw order for the Allies if they want to have a good shot at this. All right, so we've got Hohenstaufen division activation chit. So let's start off by rolling command points and dispatch. So command points, let's see, they got a command rating of 4, and I rolled a 7, so 3 and 4 is 7, and they already have 10, so they're pretty close to maxed out. They've got a ton of command points. Not too many units to spend it on, but nonetheless, they got the points. And then dispatch, they got a dispatch rating of 2. They've got 0 dispatch points right now. So they rolled a 1, so that's going to earn them 0 dispatch points, but it is the 1900 turn, so they get 2 free ones, so they're up to 2 dispatch points. All right, so I guess with the division activation, we're going to do some movement and see if we get in position. We've got a couple of battalions of reinforcements over here, so we'll see if we can get them into play. Let's see how it goes. I think the Allies just learned a tough lesson. I just finished up the division activation chit for Hohenstaufen, and these reinforcements, there were 4 motorized infantry units that followed the road here into the city, and then one at a time came to the bridge here and unmounted. And so now there are 3 relatively good motorized infantry units here and 1 here. This Team Claude has gone into ambush mode, so he doesn't have a fire zone. So now the entire Arnhem Bridge is covered by German units. So I think it's pretty much game over for the Allies. A couple things I could have done differently is perhaps this unit could have come down here. I can't quite remember if he had the movement points to do so, but had he done so, he would have projected a fire zone in these 2 areas and could have stopped Hohenstaufen that way. Alternatively, as the lead unit, he could have gone to the bridge himself. And so remember your objectives. So anyway, tough learning for the Allies, but I'm going to go ahead and play it out so I can get a final score, which is what I like to do. And let's pull a chit, and we get German direct command. So Hohenstaufen has a lot of command points to spend. See if they got anybody in range with targeting. We'll have to check our command range on some of these flak units. But let me look into that and see how it goes. Okay, good event, good turn for the Germans, or short turn at least. Extended the perimeter here with those mortarized units moving into some hexes surrounding the bridge, and the motorized unit that was here, or motorized infantry unit, who is now on foot, moved into the bridge hex, conducted a number of flak attacks. I think there was one cohesion hit somewhere, but only spent about half of my command points. So that's going to wrap it up for the Germans this turn. We got 2 chits left. Naturally, both of them are going to be allies, but let's see what we get here. This is going to be a pretty important pull for the allies. Ooh. All right, direct command, which is going to be nothing because we are at 0 dispatch points. And remember, by scenario rule, if the allies' chit is the last one in the cup, it gets played in the turn. So naturally, the division activation chit comes out. So let's check for command points and dispatch points. So first of all, command points. We've got a command rating of 5. Ooh, a 9. 9 and, let's see, that's going to be 4. Plus the 5 command rating can take us up to the most that we could get with that roll, which is 9 command points. Dispatch points. We've got 0 dispatch points, 4 dispatch rating. I rolled a 7, so that's going to be 0. But at the turn, we get 2 free dispatch points. All right. It's going to be an interesting turn for the Allies. Naturally, they got to start making some moves on the bridge. Unfortunately, our engineers are way back here. I don't think they're going to make it to the pontoon in time to try to build that thing. But let me see if I can get these guys moving. All right, things are heating up around Arnhem, or in Arnhem. Mortar unit got pretty lucky here and inflicted a single step loss on the motorized infantry that was sitting here. And now we've got a stack of 3 1st Airborne Division paratroop units that are in various shapes, a couple cohesion hits and things like that, but we've got a stack of 3 there waiting to assault. Just a quick note, I did mess up the placement of these reinforcement units. They were supposed to come in from up this direction, but I'm going to play it as is. There was a elimination of the flak unit, I think it was in the city hex, and so my recon unit has now passed over the Arnhem Bridge, or Arnhem Railroad Bridge, so that'll get some victory points. But I think one of the other things that have gone wrong for the airborne is that these artillery units are kind of out of position. They were 19 hexes away from the bridge, and they only have a range of 17. So not going to be much use right now, so I've mounted them up. Hopefully I can get them into position in the night turn to hopefully drop a couple of artillery shots on the bridge area, I think, but that's kind of a long shot. So anyway, that's the end of the 1900 turn. I'm going to do the end turn actions, although there's only a couple barrage markers out. And then we'll get going on the night turn. All right, Spindler finished up their formation activation. Not too much to report. Although even with the night turn, there was a direct attack here, which they rolled a 0 and inflicted a second cohesion hit on that first para unit. All right, second chit of the turn. German direct command. All right, command points aren't too hard to come by. We're at 8 for Hohenstaufen. So I think I'm going to see if I can get some of these units. Oh, I guess the reinforcements can't come on because I can't spend command points on them in a formation, a reinforcement hex. So I think I'm going to see if I can whittle down some of these units. Got a couple of attacks, probably in this area with flak units. And probably Spindler will try to go again and see if we can get some hits that way, even though it's the night turn. See how that goes. All right, nighttime makes this pretty straightforward. Quite a number of times we're just going to need a 0 to hit anything. So number of attacks from these units here, this flak unit and this, I forget what kind of unit that is, that funky symbol, but I'll have to look that up. And then Spindler here did a couple of attacks with no results, and then a flak unit over here on the river inflicted a cohesion hit. So pretty expensive as far as command points go, but it's the last turn of the game, so you got to spend them. See what we got left. First Airborne. All right, so we're gonna roll for command points. Got a command rating of 5. Rolled a 6, that'll give us 3, and 5 is 8, plus the 2 that we have, take us to 10. And we spent the dispatch points. I guess dispatch points really don't matter, it's the last turn, but we'll do it anyway. 6 is the roll, dispatch rating of 4, so no results. I guess we could be thankful we got the division activation chit first so we can get some command points. I think I just need to do some assaults here in the bridge area. We're going to move the artillery into position and see if we can make some headway that way. Let me think about this. All right, not the best results here for the Allies. Conducted an assault here, 3 Allied units versus the single step motorized infantry unit for the Germans, and it was repelled. Really, the nighttime rolls just makes it really tough to make any progress. Same up here, going for broke, even though it was in column, did an assault into this location, and it was repelled by the Germans. And I think I picked up a step loss for my troubles. I was able to move the artillery units into position, but their contact rolled failed. So, and then I think the only last move here is that I guess the engineers are a little bit closer than I suspected or said earlier, but I did make it into this pontoon bridge hex, but really very expensive as far as command points with little to show for it. I'm down to 2 command points with only a couple chits left to go. Let's see what we pull next. Quick note on the victory conditions. The last chit is going to be played 50% of the time, so I'll need to check on the last chit to see if we actually play it or not. And I've pulled Allied Direct Command. All right, well, only 2 command points left. I think I still have to keep trying for the bridge, so I'm going to take my 2 best units here and assault into this hex, and I'll see how that goes. Okay, a glimmer of hope here for the Allies. This assault here was partially successful, inflicted a cohesion hit, and then in the last round of the assault, charged and forced the defender to retreat into this hex. So he's in this hex, he's lost a step, he's got a cohesion hit, and he's now suppressed, and he's there with his buddies from the other formation from Hohenstaufen, and they're sitting there on the bridge. So Allies are out of command points though, so we got 2 chits left. And we'll see what happens here. This could be game over for the Allies if Germans come up. And we pulled, ooh, 1st Brigade. Formation activation. All right, well, we're going to have to continue the assault into the bridge area. We have to check my bravery check rules. I think you only have to check bravery if you're attacking across a bridge, not into the bridge hex, but I'll double check on that. And we'll do, I guess with formation activation, we can do a number of things. Our artillery is going to be out of it because they're a different formation, but all the green guys for 1st Airborne are going to get to take at least a first action for free. So let me think about that and see how it goes. Okay, wow, a pretty extraordinary event for the British. We had an assault from this hex into the bridge. There was a severely damaged 10th SS unit who had lost a step. He was suppressed. I think he had a cohesion hit on him as well. He was eliminated. One of the 2 British units was eliminated in the assault, and then on the 3rd round, the British charged and succeeded in their troop quality check. The Germans failed and had to retreat. And so, yeah, the British have taken the northern hex for the bridge. So that concludes the formation activation chit for the Allies. And so the last chit in the cup is the Hohenstaufen division activation. So I'm going to roll a die, and on an even roll, we're going to play it. And I rolled a 5. And that 5, that white die right there, that 5. So that is the end of the game. Time to calculate victory conditions. And that's going to take me a couple seconds to add everything up. So let me add that up and get back to you. All right, count up the victory points, and I've got the Allies winning with 18 victory points. The threshold is to win is 15 or more than 15 victory points. So 16 or higher, they win, and they finish up with 18. We had an AT gun in Arnhem. We had 24 steps of British infantry in Arnhem, which will give us 12 victory points there. We crossed the railroad bridge for 3. We constructed or attempted to construct the pontoon bridge and were successful. That'll give us 3. We did not capture the observation post though. And we had units on or were last to enter the northern Arnhem bridge hex. So that was +7, which was certainly the difference. By my count, the Allies lost 8 steps. So the Germans the Allies generated 26 victory points, lost 8 for the step losses, which leaves them with 18 victory points and a narrow victory. So that's it for Race to the Bridge. Really cool scenario. I really enjoyed it. Probably a good solo scenario in the sense that I don't know if the Germans have a whole lot to do, so it'd be kind of boring for a player to do that. But really an excellent solo scenario. It's one of those scenarios that I find in Grand Tactical Series that I really enjoy, where it makes me want to go back and try things differently and try it again and see if I can improve on the results rather than move on to another scenario. Definitely could have done a little bit better with the engineers with the Allies. Definitely could have done a little bit better with the artillery. But on the flip side, maybe there's some things I could have done with the Germans to slow them down a little bit better. So really cool scenario. Glad I played it. I'm going to pack it up. I've got some planning for our Vassal combined game that I need to do, and then I'll see if I can tackle the next intermediate scenario. All right, thanks for watching.